Hey, it's Merce. Welcome back to Harpies in the Trees, where I review horror books with a supernatural focus. In today's video, I have an unboxing to do for the Abominable Book Club, and I'm pretty sure this is November's. I didn't get October's because I was on vacation and I think it got sent back. So one day when I make my trip to Wales, I'm just gonna pick up all of my returned boxes and it'll be a really fun time going through customs. So yeah, we're going to unbox this and see what's inside of it. I'm very excited, looking forward to just doing something kind of fun. So let's hop into it. So here is the first glance. We can see our used book and our beverages, and I can see a treat right away. Let's do the beverages first. They've already been opened by customs, so just gonna open it up here. Let's see, we have our unsweetened cappuccino from Nescafe, an instant hot chocolate from Cadbury, a Lion's Gojo coffee bag, and 2 teas from Puka, ginseng, matcha, green, and 3 ginger. Let's check out the treats. This looks pretty good. It says Raw Chocolate Company Vegan Organic Salted Banoffee Cashew. It's really interesting. Let's open it up and give it a taste. They have a cocoa powdering on it, and they smell very cocoa-y. Now, I'm not sure what Banoffee is. I'm assuming it's something like a vanilla toffee kind of combo. And you can definitely taste it. It's there. It's not too strong. It's pretty subtle. The chocolate is more the strongest part. And the cashews have that like weird cashew kind of chewy thing. I'm not a big cashew fan, but since it's covered in chocolate, it's, you know, can almost eat anything covered in chocolate. So the next thing on top is the used book, but you know this is my favorite thing. This is the used book that we get in the full guts box, which is what this box is that I get. And that comes with a used book, a new book, sometimes a magazine, an ebook, or novella. Sometimes it's a whole nother book. It just depends on what releases and things that they have. It comes with beverages and sweets and usually a pen and 2 bookmarks. So I always save this one for the end because everybody gets a different one. So it's just kind of exciting. I don't know, it's just exciting to open up because even though the chances are it's going to be a Stephen King book, it could also be something else. So let's put this to the side for now. On top here, I see Shrader's Chord. This is by Scott Leeds. I had just looked at this book recently. I think someone recommended it when I was doing my last book haul. I wasn't really sure if it would be for me, but now that I have it, I can definitely give it a go. Let's see what it's about. After his estranged father's mysterious death, Charlie Remnick returns to Seattle to help with the funeral. There, he discovers his father left him 2 parting gifts: the keys to the family record store and a strange black case containing 4 ancient records that, according to legend, can open a gate to the land of the dead. When Charlie, his sister, and their 2 friends play the records, they unwittingly open a floodgate of unspeakable horror. As the darkness descends, they are stalked by a relentless, malevolent force and see the dead everywhere they turn. With time running out, the only person who can help them is Charlie's resurrected father, who knows firsthand the awesome power the records have unleashed. But can they close the gate and silence Shrader's Chord before it's too late? This is also Leeds' first novel, and it is a bit of a chunker. It's about 470 odd pages. Oh, it looks like there might be an author's letter in here, so let me just paw through here for a second. Yes, we have a letter here for Shrader's Chord, and interesting. Okay, all right, so there is a letter, but there is also some promotional material in here that's pretty cute. Horror in stereo, a terror from beyond on both sides of the pond. And this really looks like maybe like a 1980s, 1970s ad for a phonograph. There's also one here that says The Eyes of the Dead. The eyes of the dead are vacant, emotionless, and oddly stormy, like little cups of black coffee dolloped with heavy cream. And this one looks like it might be like an ad for an album coming out. And then there's one more, and it says, prepare yourself for a killer groove. It has a amputated hand holding a record dripping blood. These are very fun. I love these. This is so cool. Okay, let's check out the letter. Though it initially wasn't intended to be, Shrader's Chord became a love letter to a certain time in my life. I was 20 years old, working at a Tower record store in Los Angeles and quietly continuing to work to the grief of losing my father at 16. At that point, I was still outwardly entertaining the idea of making a living as a musician. I had been in several bands at that point and had started composing music for small projects, and had told virtually no one about my secret wish to be a writer. Shrader's Chord is about many things, as I suppose any novel is, but at its heart, it's about a family, both the family we're born with and the family we choose as we grow older. When death comes to a family, it sends shockwaves through the generations. Secrets are unearthed, long-buried truths are finally told. And grief grabs hold of the microphone and doesn't surrender. It's also a story about music, about those who make it, and those who obsessively love it, and even a few people who do both. Music can be a gateway to catharsis for anyone who listens to it. It can help us cope with heartbreak or bask in the glow of happiness. It can amplify our feelings of love or anger or aggression, and most importantly, it can help us to feel less alone. But what would happen if the musical gateway didn't lead to catharsis? What if it instead led to damnation? Half a century ago, Richard Matheson's A Stir of Echoes and Anne Rivers Siddon's The House Next Door changed the rules of horror. They took the hauntings out of the Gothic castles and foggy moors and dropped them into suburbia. Don't get me wrong, I love a good Gothic horror story as much as the next reader, and would even love to write one day. But Siddons and Matheson, to say nothing of countless others, recognize the power terror can hold when it invades our safe spaces. They took the comforts of home and made them sinister, turning the life preservers we cling to in times of trouble into anchors that pull us further into the deep waters of horror. Shrader's Chord is a novel for anyone who's ever felt their life preserver become an anchor, and maybe, if it's needed, will become a new life preserver for those that need one. I can't tell you how many books have been a life preserver for me. That's a great letter. Tower Records? Wow, that takes me back. Also, it's really cool to know that, he was a musician, he was playing in bands, so I think sometimes when you're making music, sometimes I feel like it can pull things from you, because you're creating stuff and sometimes without even you thinking about it, you might make a sad song or an angry song and you're not even sure why. It's just coming out, and there's something really cool about that. And one thing that I always thought was really fun, I don't remember if it was the Greeks or the Romans, I think it was the Greeks, but they thought music shouldn't be written down because music was something that the gods made, so it kind of just came out of you, which I always thought was a really cool idea. I just read Stir of Echoes this year by Richard Matheson. Totally loved it. Let's check out the next book here. It is a nice hardcover and it's You'd Look Better as a Ghost by Joanna Wallace. The cover is really fun. In the back, the author says that she was inspired to write this story following the diagnosis of her father's dementia. Let's see what it's about. The night after her father's funeral, Claire meets Lucas in a bar. Lucas doesn't know it, but it's not a chance meeting. One thoughtless, mistyped email has put him in the crosshairs of an extremely put-out serial killer. But even before they make eye contact, Claire lets him buy her a drink. Before she takes him home and carves him up into little pieces, something about that night is very wrong, because someone is watching Claire. Someone who is about to discover her murderous little hobby. The thing is, it's not sensible to tangle with a part-time serial killer, even one who is distracted by attending a weekly bereavement support group and trying to get her art career off the ground. Claire will do anything to keep her secret hidden, not to mention the body is buried in her garden. Let the games begin. So it sounds like it's going to be a kind of funny, satirical or tongue-in-cheek story about a serial killer. Let's check out the remaining items here in the box. Okay, so we do have a book plate here. I think this is for, it's a little hard to tell, but I think it's Scott because it starts with an S. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in here. Before I wasn't sure if I should actually put these in the books, and then I was like, well, what else am I gonna do with it? All right, all set. And I see that we have something unique here. It is a very big magnet. It says making killing into an art. Features some of the faves, the faves here. This one was from a previous Abominable box. And now I can add these two together here on my TBR card. And now we have two bookmarks. We have our regular Abominable bookmark here. It has our QR code for the spoiler card. And it also has a little microfiction here. Let's go ahead and read this. This is Spookmark 2 Series 6, 50 Guests. A modest crowd for what was touted to be the last ever performance of Popper, witch house pioneers and influential experimental folk musicians. Their return to the scene after 2 decades shrouded in secrecy, now culminated in an intimate, invite-only performance at a secret location. The crowd, who had all been mingling in groups, drinking and chatting, quieted as the house lights lowered. It was dark in the venue now, and mostly silent except for the low hum of microphone feedback. Suddenly, the feedback spikes loudly, drawing a frightened gasp from the audience. "Thank you," booms a deep voice, "for attending the last show." A smattering of applause. "Tonight you will leave here changed. That much we promise. Please bring your mind and listen as we guide you through our perfect soundscape." As the music starts, so does the screaming. Investigations are baffled. They find a room empty aside from clothes piled neatly on the floor, accompanied by the low electric hum of the abandoned instrument still on the stage. It almost seemed like nobody had even attended the show until they looked a little closer. 50 sets. 2 eyeballs and a tongue, plucked neatly from their owners and laid on top of the clothes. The first responders there that day still dwell on one question, one that they hope is never fully answered. Where had those people gone that they no longer needed the things that they left behind? The other bookmark is the premium bookmark, and it says, "Ghost Watch. What big eyes you have, what big hands you have. Stop it." I don't know what this is from, but it must be from something specific. I don't know what Ghost Watch is. On the corner, Pipes is here. He's standing in the corner. What's Ghost Watch? Do I need to know this? Do I need to look this up? Probably. I'll check it out later. So now we're on to my favorite part, which is the used book. So let's open this up and see what it is. Make your guesses now. Do we think it's going to be Stephen King? Do we think it's going to be Dean Koontz, Peter James? Who else do I normally get? It could be a short story collection. I do get those a lot too. All right. Oh no. It's Peter May. And so there's Peter James and there's Peter May that I often get with these books. And Peter May is like a thriller writer. I'm not really into his books at all. But Peter James is pretty cool. Liked his book that I read so far. Ooh, look at this. There's handwritten notes in the back of this book. It says, "Actions to achieve objectives." 1960, Machines That Learn. 1966. 1980, Early Robots. 1990, AI in England Again. AI Important in Economy. Okay, not sure what this means. Actions to achieve. I don't know. Is this a plan for world domination? So I guess that begs the question: what is this book about? Let's see. A city in quarantine. London, the epicenter of a global epidemic, is a city in lockdown. Violence and civil disorder simmer. Martial law has been imposed. A deadly virus has already claimed thousands of victims. Health and emergency services are overwhelmed. When was this written? 2020. Okay. A murdered child. At a building site for a temporary hospital, construction workers find a bag containing the bones of a murdered child. A remorseless killer has been unleashed on the city. His mission is to take all measures necessary to prevent the bones from being identified. Okay, I like that. I want to hear more about that. A powerful conspiracy. Detective Jack McNeil, counting down the hours on his final day with the Met, is sent to investigate. His career is in ruins, his marriage over, and his own family touched by the virus. Sinister forces are tracking his every move, prepared to kill, again, to conceal the truth. Which will stop him first, the virus or the killers? So the one Peter May book that I did start reading, it was kind of like a pretty, I would say, like kind of generic thriller. It was just like not hitting it, not taking me there. But this has a little bit more of a sinister vibe to it, so I'm kind of pulled to that, kind of curious. So, okay, all right. No, it's not a wardrobe change. I didn't record the last 10 minutes of the video, so I definitely needed to come back and wrap up what we did yesterday. I checked out the spoiler card. I scanned it. I looked at it yesterday when I thought I was recording, but there isn't a post for the November box. So it's definitely not the October box. What was interesting about the October box was that it did come with The Pale House Devil by Richard Cadre, and I actually picked that up on my own last month. So that was really cool. I feel like, maybe I didn't miss too much, but we'll see. But yeah, so there's nothing for the November box, so we're just gonna have to rely on my observational skills for what came in. My favorite things in this box for this month was Shrader's Chord. I liked the letter that came along with it. It does inspire me to actually want to read this more than before, when I was just kind of like, I don't really know, if this is going to be for me, but it sounds like it probably will be. I really love the PR that it came with, these little mini posters, mini ads, and the magnet. This is super cool. I can't wait to find somewhere to slap this onto. Love it. I really like the author letters. I think they give like insight for the reader that I think sometimes is kind of needed. I had one commenter on a video where I read a letter that Eric LaRocca had wrote for one of his books, and they said, oh, I read this book. I really wished I had known about this letter. I had read this letter because so many things would have made more sense. When I'm reading a book and I feel maybe conflicted, like maybe I'm not really understanding or something, like there's just something that's not landing for me, I'll go back and I'll read the author's note or the prologue or foreword or whatever it is. Sometimes there's the right information there and I'm like, okay, now I understand, because, when you're reading a book, you're not going to capture everything. You're not going to know what the author's intention is like all the time. It's like impossible, and sometimes things happen in the story that just kind of, they just flash by you. Sometimes you just don't catch them. So I think the author letters are super cool and I'm really glad they're in this box. So that was the box for Abominable Book Club for November, I believe. Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight, and I hope you liked this video. Be sure to take care of yourself and look out for each other, and I will talk to you next time.